Everywhere I land, a woman appears. Look, she is a comms officer. She's someone's mum in fine time. She's an ambulance. She's a portrait in 1813, and the list goes on. So she's everywhere. She must be here.
Right on cue.
Well, we have all been waiting to see it for quite literally years, and the long build of suspense about this episode was... Well, let's find out if Doctor Who Season 1, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, was worth the wait. Just as we always start off these reviews, here is the synopsis. The Doctor and Unit investigate Ruby's past, but as the time window reveals horrifying secrets from Christmas Eve, the mysterious triad technology unleashes the greatest evil of all. Just sounds supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from the synopsis. But was it as good as I had hoped, or as good as the writer RTD had teased? Was I left screaming? Before we go any further, I would ask you to subscribe if you love Doctor Who and Doctor Who content. This channel is all about Who and has some great stuff coming and already has some great stuff already on the channel. Thank you, and on to the review. This one is going to be a long one because there's going to be so much interesting and some disappointing things to cover. The Legend of Ruby Sunday was written by showrunner Russell T Davies, like much of the season bar 2 episodes out of 9, and directed by Jamie Donahue, who also directed the 2023 Doctor Who Children in Need minisode Destination Scarrow. With Donahue having some great titles under his director's belt such as The Last Kingdom and A Discovery of Witches, I had some high hopes that the direction for this episode would be fantastic. The writing is something that I struggle to dislike because I love Russell T Davies as a writer, and he always has some of the most thought-provoking and intriguing storylines of modern TV. So I was going into this episode with expectations already high. I think my main worry overall for this season so far is how many mysteries there are and how little time we have to answer those questions. I mean, this is a lot for 2 episodes to cover, but nonetheless I have faith. So we start the episode off with an amazing shot of the TARDIS crash landing into Unit. This shot was just flawless and I literally loved it, even with the burning question in my mind on why it keeps landing like this. The Doctor gets out and starts the introductions. My favourite one being, "This is Kate, we love Kate." Definitely some fan service and fanboy coming out in RTD, as we all really do love ourselves some Gemma Redgrave as Kate Lethbridge Stewart. So we quickly got all the introductions out of the way and we get to what was released as a teaser clip, all of the Susan Triad appearances and why the Doctor has partially come to Unit for help. I really love how RTD manages to introduce and handle so many cast members here. No one feels underutilised or left out, and it's very well written and played out by the cast. I really liked when the Doctor was going through the images and referred to Penny Pepperbean as someone's mum from Fine Time, with a disgusted look on his face. The Doctor not even acknowledging Lindy is a great way to show this, and this just helps relate back to that upsetting ending of Dot and Bubble. After the Doctor finishes with his usual rambling, everyone in Unit just stares at him. Like, honey, we're already on that one. This was just fabulous. Things start to unravel fast in this episode, no one messing about, we have far too much to get answered. So they start by acknowledging the S-Triad anagram. This means TARDIS, for anyone who hasn't commented to tell me this yet. Thanks again. They do mention Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter again. Ruby notices this, and this is probably my first hint that this wasn't going to be Susan Foreman. Kate follows this up by giving us a rundown on all the aliens Unit has stopped apart from the obvious one, adding a question in here instead of an answer. Who is the obvious? They move on and the Doctor has to explain to Ruby that Time Lords can regenerate, and we get the whole regeneration speech here for any newcomers to the show. But it also does add to the story this time round, so it's not irrelevant. But I did notice that with doing this, Russell has cleverly gave us a hint that ᴍᴏᴰᴜ will be with us for a good while longer, which I'm really happy about. This also hints, because they're talking about Susan looking different, that she can possibly regenerate. This has never actually been a known fact, because we were still unsure if Susan Foreman was even the Doctor's actual granddaughter, but it is confirmed here and makes it whatever is classed as Doctor Who canon. I need to say that Maurice Gibbons, played by Lenny Rush, has stole his scenes. Great new scientific advisor for Unit, and the fact that this was an added character later by Russell specifically for Lenny. The character is very well played and written, but whatever happened to Osgood? Or is she just in Geneva for now too? One thing I did like about this episode is that all the characters are introduced fairly quickly, and there doesn't feel like there's a lot of time wasted. It is needed, as Ruby has never met any of these people before, and technically thanks to 73 Yards she has never met Kate. I love how Mel, played by Bonnie Langford, is the last in the lineup of the huge cast we have to be introduced, keeping one of the existing fan favourites till last. We all love Mel, right? I have to say her character has evolved so well, and RTD really writes her character beautifully. She feels like she has a better purpose now rather than just screaming till her ears bleed. So when Mel is introduced, this gives us some backstory on what UNIT have been doing. Mel is a spy and they're investigating Triad tech. Kate says that Susan Triad apparently is really nice. I wish I hadn't believed that. Damn. They eventually move on with the plot and the Doctor explains that he's not only here to figure out his mystery woman, but another mystery also. A missing woman. Ruby's mum. This brings up the VHS tape, and it's the first question in the long list answered fairly quickly that it is Ruby's CCTV footage for the day that she was left on the church step. Morris coming in and thinking like the Whovian channels that have all been working so damn hard over this season, trying to decipher the season. What if Ruby's mum and Susan Triad are one and the same? I swear RTD just thinks like a proper fanboy when he's writing this stuff. I love it. One thing I really have enjoyed over the season is the gadgets. They seem to have kind of vanished a little after RTD left. Some popped up, but not very many. But through this season, we have had so many nifty gadgets, and this just makes it so much more Doctor Who. So Ruby had to go home to collect the VHS tape. We're introduced to Carla, and she just starts off with one of the best lines you could ever have in a Doctor Who episode. Talking about the VHS tape, she says, "That's the legend of Ruby Sunday." Carla questions if Rose works at UNIT. And this allows Rose to confirm to us that after the events of the giggle, Donna did indeed take on a position at UNIT. Does this mean that we'll be seeing Donna again? Who knows? Possibly in the UNIT spin-off, if we ever hear anything about that again. My favourite part about this is the way that Carla reacts to the fact that Donna works for UNIT. So as Ruby's mum, she's also going to be involved with this. And I love that. I love that attitude from Carla. And because Cherry Sunday needs someone to attend to her, Mrs. Flood is called upon. She comes up and we get a scene where she first comes into the house and she says, "I'm always hiding myself away." This made me think, what does the TARDIS do when it lands? Just a thought, is it still a possibility that she could be the TARDIS? So we get Cherry stealing the show as always with her minor but very amazing appearances. Her one-liners are just always great. Actually, can we get a Cherry Sunday spin-off? We can call it In Bed with Cherry Sunday. Oh, please. So Cherry says that she needs a cup of tea, and I don't know about you, but I thought Mrs. Flood's reaction was just going to be, yeah, sure, I'll get you one now. But no. She went all fourth wall breaking Scary Woman again. She tells us he waits no more. So after Mrs. Flood addresses the camera, we see the storm brewing, and we get to a scene where Kate and the Doctor are having a lovely intimate moment with one another. But this really fried my brain. So apparently the Doctor is a grandfather to a granddaughter he is still yet to have a child for. Wait, what? I really think RTD maybe have had one too many late night beverages whilst writing this scene. So Susan Triad is then confirmed to be human by Mel's daily DNA scan. This further cemented it for me that this is not Susan Foreman. Sad, but true. Ruby then comes bursting into the office with her VHS tape, all excited and ready to find out who her parentage is, asking why her mum wasn't allowed in. Kate explains why she's not allowed in, but she also follows this up by mentioning that even the Prime Minister is not allowed in the building. And we get Morris with another great one-liner. Especially the Prime Minister. I mention this specific scene because this relates back to the question of who UNIT are still trying to catch, and duh, my stupid brain didn't click on. The Prime Minister, the gold tooth, the Master. Is this a hint at what's to come in the future potentially? Okay, so we get to the time window scene. This is kind of where we spend a good chunk of time for this episode. But this full scene was just amazing, and I really hoped we get to see the time window again. So they load everything up and it all starts to give us a glimpse into that day on Ruby Road. But the core starts to overload and Kate asks Morris if they should stop. Morris replies with another fantastic one-liner. No way. Loved this. It made me laugh, to be honest. But on reflection, they should probably have turned the damn thing off. This whole scene is so intense and is written and directed in a way that leaves you feeling on edge. It kinda gives proper horror vibes. But alas, Ruby's mum walks past her and they don't get any answers. No one sees her face, no one sees anything. They just see the scene play out as we've seen it play out multiple times before. To be honest, we're left with more questions from this scene about Ruby and that night. Morris insists on asking the Doctor a question, and the question is, what is that thing? Boom, we have our entity. My mind starts going towards it being Satan from the Satan's pit. But surely not. It can't be. Carla even has a line pointing us in that direction.
I know his name. It's the Beast.
I just want to stop here and say that this episode looks and feels phenomenal. The directions and the visuals, the CGI, everything is just looking so damn brilliant, and I'm here for it all. So Mel takes the Doctor to meet Susan Triad, and he has like a mini breakdown in the hallway of her building. No tears this time though. I really like how Mel just deals with the Doctor in this scene. Like, she gets him and she knows him, and she tells him to do what he does and fix it. I love this scene, and it is just what the Doctor really needs. Someone to be hard on him. During the Doctor's brief interaction with Susan Triad, we find out that she does indeed dream of her other selves, and she is aware of this. So that's the second question answered, but we're still left hanging on why. I did mention that this was a possibility, so I was kind of right on this theory, I suppose. I'm giving myself a point for it. Kate then finds out that the TARDIS appears on Ruby Road for a second time, something that we all know should never happen. This could possibly explain why the beginning of the church on Ruby Road is totally different to the Doctor landing at the end of the church on Ruby Road. Both scenes don't match up, they are really quite different scenes. So does this mean that the Doctor visited twice and that's why the memory keeps changing? So we do get another answer, we get a third answer to what's been causing the TARDIS to be so sickly, and that is that there's a life form wrapped around the TARDIS, not just on it but within it. This explains the noises, the weird landings and the sparks. This is just a thought, but it could explain the weird adventures we've been having all season as well. Also, did anyone notice that the lasers that scanned the TARDIS in this episode were blue, but in the trailer they were green? Probably a misdirection tactic, but we'll have to wait and see. We then get a fourth question answered also. Who is Susan Triad? Well, she is a puppet. A puppet for this entity. This was theorised with other channels. I can't remember if I said this as well, to be honest, but yeah, she's a puppet. A harbinger, if you would like. And obviously we get the Harry Harbinger. The Confused Adipose had already theorised on this in a video I had watched, and I had totally agreed that this is what it would be, because no last name on the cast list was a little bit on the nose. And for those who are lost, first initial H, last name Harbinger, it spells Harbinger. This is what the gods send to warn of their incoming doom. But now this is not hard for me to say. I was wrong on my theory of Hecuba, and I'm so happy that I was, because oh my, that reveal on who this god is was so worth my theory being wrong. Damn, RTD pulled it out of the bag for this, man. Jeez. At the end of the day, theory videos are just made for fun, in the hopes that you might get a lucky guess. And if you're wrong, who cares? But I can reveal that Sutek is back. And I know I'm going to have a lot of happy subscribers because a lot of you wanted this to be Sutek or Omega. And oh my god, did you get Sutek? I literally became speechless at the end of this episode, and I just couldn't stop saying, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Like, I stopped writing, I couldn't write, I couldn't think. Like, genuinely, this episode blew me away. I have zero complaints on this episode. This is easily a solid S rank on the tier list. And stuff, I'm gonna say it, I think this is the best first part of a finale we have ever seen in Doctor Who history. It was flawless in my opinion. Sutek looks amazing. The Harbingers all look creepy as hell. I wonder if Sutek will take on a humanoid form or if he'll continue to be fully CGI for the next episode. But I do want to add in here, that's not to say that Hecuba is not Ruby's mother. We still have that to be answered, so who knows, I could be partially right on my theory. But I literally cannot wait to watch this episode again. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments below. We have all been waiting to see this finale, and I'm sad to see the series come to an end. The long build of suspense about this episode was... well, let's find out if Doctor Who's Season 1 Empire of Death was even worth the wait. Just as we always start these reviews, here's the synopsis. The Doctor is lost. His ageless enemy reigns supreme, and a shadow is fallen over creation. Nothing can stop the devastation, except, perhaps, one woman. It just sounds like the stakes are high and a lot is riding on this one woman from the synopsis. But was it as good as I'd hoped? Or as good as the writer RTD had teased? Was I left screaming? Before we go any further, I would ask you to subscribe if you love Doctor Who and Doctor Who content. This channel is all about Who and has some great stuff coming and already has some great stuff already on the channel. Thank you, and on to the review. This one is going to be a big review. We have 10 minutes longer of an episode and a whole lot to get through. Some callbacks to The Legend of Ruby Sunday, some brilliant moments, and some not so brilliant, but let's get on to it. Empire of Death was written by showrunner Russell T Davies, like much of the season bar 2 episodes out of 9, and we see the return of the director Jamie Donoghue, who also directed the 2023 Doctor Who Children in Need minisode Destination Scarrow and The Legend of Ruby Sunday, with Donoghue having some great other titles under his director's belt such as The Last Kingdom and The Discovery of Witches. I am so happy that they kept the director for this two-parter the same, as directors' work process and thoughts change, so it can really affect the direction in which a story is told. Having the same director for both episodes just keeps the vibe and the story going in the same direction. This really allows you to watch it as a movie, also making it a way better experience for the viewer. The writing, as I said in my review for The Legend of Ruby Sunday, is something I struggle to dislike, because I love Russell T Davies as a writer, and he always has some of the most thought-provoking and intriguing storylines on modern TV. After that cliffhanger at the end of The Legend of Ruby Sunday, I can imagine expectations for part 2 were set extremely high for all viewers. Russell kind of helping build the buzz with his cryptic clues on the Doctor Who podcast. It was a little weird as we haven't had as many previews for this, or as much details about this episode leaked or shared with us. So being able to get into this with 95% of it being a surprise is actually really nice. The build up towards this episode on the 20th of June with Tales of the Tardis for the UK viewers was really nice. Helped the overall hype that was building for this episode, and for fans outside of the UK, it's a shame you didn't receive this. And no, I'm not saying sorry, as it's not my fault, but I will give you a little overview. All you missed was the beginning with ᴍᴏ and Millie, cozying round 13's TARDIS being a fire pit and talking about Sutekh. Then the end when Millie and ᴍᴏ talk about how he is going to defeat him. The effects were updated to an extent of the video being upscaled, and the time tunnel had been changed from this to this. Other than that, there was not much overall change to the story apart from more or less pointless parts like the Doctor and Sarah getting caught in Horace's traps being cut from the overall episode. I do hope eventually there will be a way to allow you all to see this. Sadly, I didn't go to the cinema to view this episode, as I felt I had a duty to watch it in silence and focus to write the best review not only for you guys, but that I could do for the finale of what has been weeks of hard work and sleepless nights on a Friday into a Saturday. I hope all of you who did see it in the cinema did enjoy the experience though. So I started off the night at 11:15, following the same times as the cinema, minus those pesky cinema ad breaks, so I got to start 15 minutes later. And I started by rewatching The Legend of Ruby Sunday. Mood lighting in the room and a candle lit for some calming ambience. I thought I might need it. This would be the 4th time that I've seen this episode in the last week, and oh damn what an episode it was, eh? I love the chilling and thrilling vibes this episode gave off. But if you want to know more, you can find the review on my channel for that, or switch over to the double review video for both episodes. Just out of curiosity, I did run a poll on this channel to see where people were going to be watching this episode, but we'll get to that at the end of the review for the people who care. We dive straight in where we left off with Sutekh about to cause all hell to break loose on the universe. The dust of death is released by Susan, and starts destroying everyone in its path. Jumping to Kate shouting open fire as we all wanted from the ending of the last episode, but we got it here. Alas, the shots do nothing, and the bullets are turned to dust, allowing Harriet to release the wave of dust of death on unit. Stakes are so high as Mel and the Doctor race away from the massive dust cloud as we see everything being destroyed. This shot was amazing. It was really done well, bouncing back and forth from the action till we see the unit team all dissolve into dust. Unit aren't saving the day this time, and RTD let us know this pretty damn fast. We then cut to Mrs. Flood being all suspicious as ever as she cuddles into Cherry Sunday, and bam, turns to dust, followed by Carla and everyone we know, all gone to dust. It's funny this because the Doctor already said this to us as early as Boom, that this is what was going to happen. We just didn't click on. Anyway, we cut back to the time window where Mel and the Doctor come in. This is where we're introduced to the memory TARDIS. Sutekh appears in the hopes, I believe, to try and stop the Doctor, but can't. I love how the Doctor actually addresses this to leave us questioning why he cannot kill him, at least not yet anyway. This is where we get the whole exposition on how Sutekh has always been with the Doctor since the 4th incarnation of the Doctor in 1911. Sutekh has been on every single adventure, and we and the Doctor just didn't quite know it. As Sutekh put it, the Time Lord was vain and blind. I love how they showed us just how powerful Sutekh was by using him to pick up the TARDIS and spin it around, and then only to have him sit back on top of it again. Remember, this scene is significant to us as viewers, as we always have only seen the TARDIS as a safe place, a safe haven. Not even the gods of Genghis Khan can get through those doors. This safe place we had is now no longer safe. The TARDIS is shown as so weak. A plaything of Sutekh, if you will. So the Doctor finally gave that I am the Doctor speech, and we have only been waiting all season for this, but for me personally, this didn't quite hit it. This is definitely by far not one of the best I am the Doctor speeches we've had to date. I was a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest, and I feel the speech in Boom was just done better. So the Doctor and Co get into the memory TARDIS, and the fact that this was written for this episode and RTD used it to create Tales of the TARDIS was just a great move, to be honest, bringing back all the great oldies. But the bit that got me the most was when Mel seen her Doctor's outfit. Her face was just amazing to see. The joy that brought to her was beautiful. I actually seen within her face the memories coming back of the good old times with the Doctor. In the memory TARDIS, they are discussing how Sutekh has managed to use the perception filter to his advantage. The Doctor mentioning that this was always 66.7 metres away exact. Ruby coming in with 73 yards but can't seem to remember how she knows this. Great little callback to an episode we all knew was going to have some importance in the final story. The Doctor opens the doors to the TARDIS and looks out as the Earth is being destroyed. We get him explaining that because Sutekh has been to every destination in time and space with the TARDIS, he has left a Susan triad there. This means that the dust of death is happening at every point in time and space the Doctor's ever visited. This is where the Doctor's realisation of him being so irresponsible and vain in his adventures, showing what all his fun has caused and the destruction is all because of him. This scene was hard hitting as ᴍᴏ just hit the mark for me on this one. I felt the Doctor's pain so much it brought tears to my eyes. And no, this is not just hay fever. We then cut to a scene of Sutekh talking to his puppet Susan about not being able to locate the Doctor and Co. Then we're thrown into a new scene that shows the Doctor walking along a planet's surface full of devastation to eventually speak to a woman on a distant planet. Yeah, this was the woman who could save the whole universe. With giving the Doctor a speech and handing him a spoon. Really, a spoon. Why did this have to be the kind woman? I was expecting a god or some eternal being. Instead she gives the Doctor a spoon and turns to dust. Okay, so it's a spoon that's going to save the universe, not the kind woman. This scene was just unnecessary, really. The Doctor needed a piece of metal. The memory TARDIS had plenty he could have broken off. This was just an off-putting scene and really took me out of the moment, to be honest. And I guess everyone else's knives, forks, spoons on Earth had turned to dust even though all the buildings were still intact. This was our extra 10-minute of the episode. Without this we would have had a rough 45-minute episode. But anyway, moving on. I guess the only benefit to the previous scene was for when Mel started to get tired and started becoming forgetful. This gives us the impression that she is also starting to lose her memory and eventually will turn to dust. During this going on with Mel, Ruby's memories start coming back through the time window onto the screen. Mel continues to hear voices from Sutekh and the connection between him and her gets stronger. Memories from Ruby's 73 yards and Roger Ap William pop up. The Doctor figures out these are clues to how they can find Ruby's mother. I did say within this adventure this is going to lead to Ruby finding out who her parentage is. It was a rough and easy guess to make since her question needed to be answered and they needed to also get Sutekh dealt with. So it's easy enough to link them both. So because of Roger making it so that everyone has to have DNA tests done for some unknown reason in the future of 2046, this means that Ruby's mum would also have been required to have this done, so this allows them to get the information of Ruby's mum from 2046. During this whole mini adventure, Mel is converted into a puppet and she just looks creepy as hell. Is it bad to say that the puppets creep me out more than Sutekh did? So Mel goes all Skeletor and is commanded by Sutekh to take Ruby and the Doctor to Sutekh HQ. I quite like this scene when Ruby uses her knowledge to trick Sutekh, allowing her to lead him up like the dog he really is. The whistle was actually coming in handy just as the Doctor had said it would earlier in the episode, commanding the TARDIS with the whistle as if she were a dog. But I liked the part where the TARDIS does fight back, and it just blows Harry a new one right out of the blue box. before returning to her longest and most loved companion. The resolution was great. I personally was waiting on some time reversal where all of this never happened storyline, but we finally got an episode where everything is just restored and people should remember this event. Not that they will, because it's Doctor Who. So finally, after the Doctor using Sutekh to restore the whole universe, the Doctor becomes life or death or something or another in a big speech before he releases Sutekh to the time vortex, where he burns into ash. But I still don't think this is the last we're going to see of him. Just give it another 40 so years. Can I just mention also, the Doctor actually did save the day in this episode. Like, he fully did that this time. With the help of a spoon and Ruby by his side, but he became the Doctor. So everything gets cleared up in old Sutekh HQ, now back to being Unit Tower. It is explained to Susan that she is the creation of the god of death. And we also get to find out who Ruby's mother is, finally. Damn, it's not as if we've only been waiting for 6 months to find this out. She's an ordinary woman, a nurse, who left Ruby at the church when she was only 15, to give her the best possible chance at a better life than she had herself. I'm going to say it here. Guys, RTD trolled us. He trolled us all. Ruby is just, well, she's just Ruby. Damn, there goes my god theory. To be honest with you all, I actually really liked the fact that Ruby's mum was no one important, thus making Ruby a normal companion. Stephen Moffat already told us in the Boom Unleashed episode, he said his brief for Ruby was that she was just an ordinary companion, not one of the special ones like Clara and Donna. So yeah, we were already told that Ruby was nothing special. I really do love the fact that we just had a human being who was lucky enough to find the Doctor, and this helped lead her to what she always wanted, her mother and father. It's a great way to end the story on Ruby Road. Ruby gets an exit from the Doctor in the Tardis that we haven't seen since Martha Jones. She left on her terms, alive and well, and gets to continue on her adventure of life. We then have a setup for the season to come. Mrs. Flood, but not as we've seen her before. Oh no, she's all dressed in white with an umbrella, similar to Missy. I'm really starting to think Mrs. Flood is the narrator of this show though. Oh, what if she is actually the narrator? I feel she's going to have a good presence in the Christmas episode though. Maybe. Watch this, Mrs. Flood will just be Mrs. Flood, Ruby's crazy old neighbour. One thing that really has annoyed me from this episode is the fact that we never get an answer to the snow. Like, why does it keep snowing round Ruby? Like, was that just forgotten? Like, yeah. No one told me how it was snowing, or how Ruby managed to make it snow. Guess that was just not important. Yeah, knowing RTD and knowing what his finales are normally like, I would say this is definitely a good episode. I'd say the first part was definitely better. We all know that the second part normally falls short of the first part. So yeah, I'd say I definitely enjoyed The Legend of Ruby Sunday better. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. But I felt like it was a good episode. It was rewatchable. I could definitely watch both parts again straight away. It wasn't a bad episode at all. It just wasn't as good as The Legend of Ruby Sunday. So that's us come to the end of the last review of the last episode of Season 1, Series 14 of Doctor Who. What am I going to fill my time with now? Don't you worry, there's loads of content that's been shelved to allow me to make these reviews. So if you love Doctor Who, I will ask you again to subscribe if you love Doctor Who and Doctor Who content. This channel is all about Doctor Who and we love it here. And there's some great stuff coming, and as I said, there's great stuff already on the channel. Click this video if you want to stay in the YouTube Whoniverse, because honestly, it's always the best place to be.